In this video, I'm going to explain how to prime your metabolism with carbohydrates using the pro-metabolic scientific method called metabolic priming. So we're going to be going through exactly what metabolic priming really is and how it works on a specific scientific level. And I'm actually going to show you how we used it with our client Dan here, who's 57 years old, eating 1,100 calories more per day, more carbohydrates, and as you can see, absolutely shredded. So we're going to be going through, like I said, a little bit more about metabolic priming and what it really is, metabolic adaptation, and if you've been stuck in a low-carb diet, low calories for extended period of time, you're feeling brain fog, low energy levels, lack of sleep, I want you to stick around and listen to what metabolic adaptation really is, because it's going to provide a lot of clarity on what's really going on with inside your overall body and what's really happening on the actual metabolic level within your own body. And then we're going to go into carbohydrate metabolism and how to open your glucose cells up for more introduction to more glucose intracellular. And then we're going to go over Dan's actual transformation, how we use this in the context of what we did with his calories, what we do with his macronutrients, the actual formulas we use to get his correct macronutrients, and then we're going to go through step by step how we are able to transition him into a carbohydrate metabolism state, allowing him to eat more food and get leaner than he's ever been before at age 57. So if you guys don't know by now, my name's Adam Bono. I'm an online metabolic specialist, and I specialize in metabolic manipulation with my clients who are typically range around 30 to 65 years of age. And I've helped almost 500 men in the last 6 months alone get to very lean body compositions by manipulating their metabolism through correct macronutrients, correct hormones, and how to structure their hormones with overall nutrition to gain the most amount of actual fat loss and to make fat loss relatively pretty easy. So if you've been watching my channel for some time now, you've probably seen a ton of my clients who are eating a ton more calories and a ton more carbohydrates and getting leaner than they've ever been before using metabolic priming. And today I want to actually explain a little bit more in detail on how it really works, okay? So let's get right into today's video. This is my client Dan. We call him Superman in our community. He's 57 years old. Guys, he is 57 years old, an Army Ranger, and he is absolutely shredded, eating more food. And here's how it's really possible. It's called metabolic priming. So the first thing you want to know about your metabolism is that you can start to degrade your metabolism over time, but it's not due to age. Your age doesn't degrade your metabolism. What happens is dietary lifestyle, low-carb dieting, low-caloric restriction starts to play a toll on your overall metabolism and down-regulate the essential parts that maintain high caloric burn just at rest. So the metabolic priming is the manipulation of cellular metabolism, turning the body into food storage mode and to stimulating the BMR to turn it into basically energy burning mode, right? Eating more food to burn more calories. Reduction of oxidative stress and inflammation by repairing hormones through higher level nutrition strategies. Focus on raising the BMR, manipulating cellular metabolism through pH, O2 levels, and nutrient availability to stimulate metabolism. So if we want to learn the actual scientifics behind metabolic priming and what it really looks like, because it is a highly researched subject online, but I've just spent the last 5 years developing the systems around it with nutrition to make it just a simple and easy process to follow and also very predictable. So metabolic priming with carbs refers to strategically manipulating carbohydrate intake to optimize the body's metabolic processes, particularly for fat burning and energy production. It's a technique used to prepare the body for a fat loss phase or to improve athletic performance by enhancing the efficiency of how the body utilizes and stores energy. So it's preconditioning the body for fat loss, right? Enhanced fat burning. By strategically using carbs, metabolic priming can indirectly support fat burning. It can help with the body transition more smoothly into a fat burning state by ensuring adequate energy stores and optimizing metabolic pathways for efficient fat metabolism, optimizing energy production, supporting muscle growth and repair, and an individualized approach. So yes, if you were to search into the overall context of the science of metabolic priming, it's a very researched subject. And they've done a lot of studies on metabolic priming, but it is a very individualized approach that takes a lot of actual just not only guidance, but also very key minuscule factors along with nutrition that makes it a predictable process. And, you know, this isn't just some fitness industry gimmick. This isn't just some new online fad diet. This is a scientific process of actually losing body fat, stimulating your BMR. And so if we break down about how your metabolism works, 60 to 70% of your metabolism is made of your basal metabolic rate, which is your essential body functions: breathing, blood flow, sleeping, and organ function. When you start to downregulate calories, you start to downregulate your basal metabolic rate. This is an essential survival mechanism of the body when it feels that it is starving. It's going to savor what it needs to actually keep that BMR active, right? So it's going to basically savor the calories, hang on to body fat. And that's what happens within context when it comes to metabolic adaptation. So this is where we focus with our clients. We focus on optimizing energy pathways, optimizing basal metabolic rate, and optimizing their metabolism by understanding that 60-70% of your metabolism is actually what you burn at rest, not what you do at exercise. So if we optimize how many calories you burn at rest, we can figure out 60-70% of how your body burns calories, right? And the thermic effect of food, when you break down the thermic effect of food, is that it's basically digestion and calorie conversion. So if you eat 100 calories of protein, 35% gets that broken down into the thermic effect, right? Carbohydrates is 10, fat is 3. So we can already start to see the difference between overall macromolecules and the overall total thermic effect of each calorie conversion. And then we get into even the last two parts of your metabolism, which is exercise activity, right? This is where most guys tend to focus: overdoing cardio for minimal returns, while me and the rest of our clients make significant more progress doing less cardio and eating more food, staying more comfortable. And so this is where people start to go wrong. They think that doing more cardio has a bigger benefit than understanding hormones and how your metabolism actually plays a role in how you burn calories. And then the overall thermic effect of food and NEAT, right? Non-energy activity thermogenesis, is a big one as well. So NEAT is non-planned exercises, the psychology behind burning. I got a comment on one of my YouTube channels the other day. He said, when I eat a bunch of carbs, I feel like I have great energy. And that's true. When you eat a bunch of carbs, you have really great energy. And that allows you to go and move more psychologically. And they've done studies on carbohydrates indirectly affecting NEAT, right? And what NEAT is you go up and you fidget at my desk sometimes. You go walk to the fridge. You go get the wife some groceries. You're more likely to go psychologically do stuff when you have more energy, therefore you burn more calories, right? And they've even done studies on guys who like to fidget, right, who have a fidgeting problem, the knee shakers, and they burn a sufficient more calories than the normal human being because of NEAT, right? And it plays a significant part in your overall metabolism. And so it influences energy levels. Carbs are the primary source of energy, meaning adequate carb intake can support higher levels of increased NEAT. And then we get into overall your thyroid and how your thyroid's actually broken down. The amount of carbohydrates in your diet is directly linked to a thyroid hormone called T3, which is the active thyroid hormone. So they've done multiple studies on T3, for instance, the effect of caloric restriction and dietary conscious serum T3 versus T3 in men. They concluded that dietary carbohydrates is an important regulator factor in the T3 production in men. So what they're saying is that with higher carbohydrates, your thyroid produces more active thyroid hormone. And that's the direct correlation between why our clients are seeing more progress eating more carbohydrates, is because we are not only directly correlating their basal metabolic rate, but we're using carbohydrates to stimulate overall thyroid hormones. And so when we get into metabolic adaptation, this is where it really gets into context where I really want you guys to understand fully, is that most people don't understand how metabolic adaptation actually does occur. So there's a direct correlation between the amount of actual calorie intake that you have and the actual TDEE actual, right? And so as you start to lower calories, you actually start to lower the amount of calories your body burns. And this is outside of the calories that you burn less by losing more weight, right? And so for instance, when you start at 2,700 calories, your body's burning a sufficient amount of calories. And the less that you eat, the less that you actually burn, okay? And so where most people get stuck is right around this 1,800 calorie range, and they've been stuck so long that their body's no longer burning the calories that it needs to, and that's where you get the highly inflamed, you get the gut, you get the lack of energy, and you get lack of sleep, maybe even, lack of sexual desires. And all of these things start to occur within the body because the body's downregulating all the essential hormones and all the essential metabolic processes that align. And a lot of people don't know this because the guys who don't try low carb, the guys who've been stuck on low calories for an extended period of time, they think the only way they can burn more calories is to keep pushing this these calories down more. Well, when your body's starting to fight an inflammation wall and your body's starting to hang on to every last bit of body fat, it doesn't matter how much calories that you actually push down. That's why these guys that might be you actually can't get rid of that last little bit of belly fat that's hanging on the last section of your midsection, and you start to degrade muscle tissue. And then you start to add food back, and now your BMR is so shot that you gain the weight back very rapidly. And that's the overall problem of what we're seeing in today's society, is the fad diets out there that are meant for quick, unsustainable progress are putting people in a worse position, and they're gaining more weight back than they even had before, instead of understanding that their body is 10 times smarter than you and I will ever be. And we have to treat it as such. We have to treat it as an organism that is extremely complex. And it's not as simple as just less calories mean less weight. And it's not always as simple as, for instance, the less weight equals better body composition. And there's a lot of things that come into context that, in overall instance, we have to break a lot of self-limiting beliefs within our overall clients when they first come into our program, alongside of calories, carbohydrates, bodily cues, how they feel, how they look in the mirror, and associating all that to actual progress. Because that's where a lot of men go wrong, is one, they are very impatient, right? People are very impatient, and when they don't see progress, they think they're doing something wrong. Well, slow progress isn't always bad progress. Slow progress is sustainable progress, but you have to understand and have clarity of direction to really understand and have the patience necessary to actually get to a sustainable physique. And so what we do with metabolic priming is we start to actually work these calories back up, which essentially works your BMR back up, right? And so in a sense, we try to have the opposite effect of metabolic adaptation. And this is a part of metabolic adaptation as well, is raising these calories very slowly and adapting the body to carbohydrates, right? Because we want the TDE actual to actually rise. Because when we have a higher carbohydrate intake, higher calorie intake, not only can we maintain more muscle tissue, we can grow lean muscle tissue, we can have a higher basal metabolic rate, we can eat more food, we can stay away from hormones within your overall body that portray, let's say, hunger and satiety, like leptin and ghrelin. We can control inflammation, we can control cortisol, we can control serotonin, and having a higher caloric intake allows us to actually have a lot more comfortability and maintain a leaner physique. And so when we understand what carbohydrate metabolism is, because this is what we do use within our clients to overall get these calories up. And like we talked about, there's a direct correlation between carbohydrates and a lot of key necessity factors within your overall metabolism. And what we do from an overall context is called carbohydrate metabolism. So carbohydrate metabolism, for instance, refers to a series of chemical reactions that break down and utilize carbohydrates in a living organism. It's a crucial process that provides cellular functions to maintain healthy blood sugar levels. When you maintain healthy blood sugar levels, you also maintain healthy hunger levels, right? You also maintain better digestion because, carbohydrates have healthy pro and prebiotics that aid in digestion, and they reduce inflammation, adrenal fatigue. They improve serotonin levels, which is like the happiness hormone. They help you sleep better. So carbohydrates are broken down into simple sugars in the mouth, stomach, and small intestine. The digested sugars are absorbed into the bloodstream and transported to the cells through the ATP process. And then understanding carbohydrate metabolism from a full instance and more showing you the pictures of what it looks like is, in a lot of senses, when you get low in calories, you get low in carbohydrates, and these fad diets like keto, carnivore, what they do is they basically shut the cell off to glucose, right? And when you shut the cell off to glucose, what happens is that your body no longer has the mechanistic and the machinery to process glucose correctly, which gives you, when you eat carbohydrates, you get fatigued, you feel lethargic a little bit, and you start to gain weight very rapidly because you haven't preconditioned the body to actually absorb glucose and utilize that machinery at a very high level. Because in a sense, if your body doesn't use it, it loses it. It doesn't feel the need to actually have the machinery to process glucose correctly, so it gets rid of it. And when you add carbohydrates, that's when you gain the weight back very rapidly. When you go out to dinner with the wife, that's when you gain 5 to 10 pounds. When you go on vacation, that's when you gain 5 to 10 pounds because you've gotten rid of the biochemical processes within the body that actually have the machinery available to actually utilize glucose correctly. So what we do with carbohydrate metabolism is we open those cells up for glucose, which plays a role in overall insulin regulation. It allows the glucose into the cell intramuscularly, allowing the body to eat glucose, but also improve metabolic factors. And so this is what we have to do from a context of carbohydrate metabolism and metabolic priming. Is we have to allow more glucose intracellularly to actually improve ATP and to improve energy levels, okay? So now that we know this, now we know what metabolic priming is, now we know what carbohydrate metabolism is, and now we know how important that overall carbohydrates are in when it comes into play with your metabolism. I want to show you an active concept of how we use this with an actual client, okay? So really, metabolic priming, for instance, is a preconditioning the body for an overall fat loss phase, yes. And so where most guys will start is they'll start at 2,000 calories, and they're already shot their metabolism. We talked about overall metabolic adaptation. The lower the calories that you eat, the less that your body burns. And so most guys have completely shot their metabolism. They just absolutely destroyed their metabolism. What they'll try to do is they'll go to 2,000 calories, they'll try 1,800, and they'll start 30 minutes of cardio, but their metabolism is so shot that the body's quite literally fighting fat loss because it thinks that it's starving. It's been fully transitioned to a starvation context and now hangs on to every last bit of body fat. So what we have to do is we have to precondition the cells, we have to precondition the metabolism to allow fat loss to actually occur. So how this looks is, like we talked about, is with metabolic adaptation, the opposite context, right? We would cut cardio to 0 like we did for Dan here, and we might add like 10K steps because steps is a form of non-energy activity thermogenesis, right? And yes, steps are a form of cardio, but it's a low-intensity cardio state that's low intensity enough that doesn't actually calculate as actual active energy expenditure. It actually calculates as non-energy activity thermogenesis. So we can use steps as a context of burning slightly burning calories, improving digestion, improving heart health, joint health. And they've even done studies on steps per day, that people who do above 8K steps a day have a better all-cause rate mortality and all that good stuff as well. And so obviously, as we do work with 30 to 65-year-old men, is that the steps are tremendous and move the needle so much. Okay, so like what we do with metabolic priming is we inch these up, right? And I'll show you how we did it with Dan, but I want to show you the full context of what we're trying to do before we actually get into it. And so like we'll start with a correct macronutrient goal, which I'm going to show you how to do in here in a second. But we'll start with the correct macronutrient goal, and each week we'll slightly raise the carbohydrates, right? And what we're trying to do, if we were to draw a line between your calories and your BMR, we are trying to slowly raise the calories and slowly raise the basal metabolic rate, right? Similar to like the diagram that we showed you above. We are starting to slowly raise these to actually improve metabolic rate, metabolic function, improve insulin sensitivity, improve blood sugar levels, improve hunger, improve inflammation, improve cortisol. And we can do all of this by understanding the role carbohydrate plays in overall healthy metabolic processes, right? And so we're trying to slowly get these up, right? And so it's not a one-way street. We don't want to get them up as high as we possibly can, and we don't want to raise the carbohydrates when the body isn't allowing us to. What I mean by not allowing us to is we track data-driven perspectives within our clients, like body composition, like hunger, like weight, obviously, but body composition being a really big one as well. Is because it's like it doesn't always just come down to less weight means looking better, right? Because we understand that muscle tissue has weight to it. What a lot of guys will go wrong is they think that, well, society has put on us nowadays is that like you weigh less weight, you look better. You know, Dan right here is actually the same exact weight. He's the same exact weight. I'll show you here in a second. But he is the exact same weight in both of these photos. Do you think, honestly, Dan gives a shit about his weight when he looks like this? No, and neither do you listening to this. You don't really care about your weight. You care about how you look. And where people will go wrong is the confusion between weight loss and fat loss. Weight loss is losing muscle tissue, seeing a new number on the scale, but fat loss is actually reducing body fat. If you're losing muscle tissue, you are actually degrading your BMR because muscle tissue is highly metabolic. Muscle tissue has an 8-calorie per pound to actually maintain, while fat has a 2-calorie per pound to maintain. And the National Institute of Health did a data-driven research study that stated it is quite literally more unhealthy to lose muscle tissue than it is to lose body fat. So there's a difference between actually losing body fat and losing muscle and losing body fat and actually losing weight. We don't want to lose weight. We want to lose body fat. We want to get to a next level body composition. We want to get leaner in body fat percentage. That's what we specialize in. And what you have to understand, and a lot of stuff we have to break within our overall clients and the self-limiting beliefs, is that the scale's not the overall best dictator of progress. It's how you look. And that's how we make decisions each week based upon if your body is ready for a little bit more of a glucose spike, right? And the goal is to get up as high as humanly possible, and then we monitor the body. Once the body has a reverse reaction, we might see a slight weight spike, we might see a little bit more water retention, but our overall goal is to get to at least 350 to 400 grams of carbohydrates, doing no cardio, and optimizing the BMR. Do we have caveats in the program where some guys get up to 4,500 calories? Absolutely. Do we have caveats when some guys only can get to 2,700? Absolutely. But I would say the majority of the 500 guys that I have worked with, they usually get right around 350 to 400 grams of carbohydrates, and they're ready for a significant fat loss phase. Because this allows us more calories when we're actually getting into a cutting phase, right? So now that we're in the cutting phase, we've optimized the BMR, and let's just say that we're doing zero cardio. We have 3,200 calories. Our BMR is optimized. Now look at all of this room we have to work with when it comes to calories, when it comes to cardio. We have so much room to work with, right? Because this will allow us, one, less refeeds, less cortisol, less inflammation, an easier cut, and a more maintainable cut as well. Because imagine if you could drop from 3,200 calories at the same weight you are at now rather than 1,800 calories. How much more maintainable, how much sustainable would that be? How much less hungry would you be? And this is the process of preconditioning the metabolism and reversing a lot of metabolic damage that's been done over years and years of time of low-carb dieting, low-calorie restrictive dieting, and a lot of guys are just stuck there in silent despair, not knowing exactly what to do. And this is the process that is reversing a lot of metabolic damage in men 30 to 65 years old that have been stuck for 5, 10, 15 years on low-carb, keto, carnivore options, and you haven't never been able to actually achieve a next level physique. It's because you have to understand how the metabolism works and how you can manipulate it. And so now we have all these to work with, is that yes, over time we know that metabolic adaptation starts to go down a little bit, but we can raise cardio up to like 20 minutes and see amazing fat loss progress now. We can raise just 20 minutes and lower just 200 calories, and now we have created a big calorie deficit of just 200 calories in 20 minutes of cardio. That's a big calorie deficit. Now we're already kickstarting fat loss. But we're now eating more food, and so we're not extremely hungry. We have more energy to support cardio sessions. We have more energy and less hunger to support, actually just staying on the plan, right? Because you've probably been in the position before. We've been trying to find a super strict diet, and you're extremely hungry, and you fall off, and by the weekend you're out eating out at your favorite restaurant again, and you say you're going to get back at it on a Monday. Well, it doesn't work like that. You have to understand that fat loss is psychological as well. You have to be able to understand that if you want, being less hungry, it allows you to stay on plan for longer, right? So let's get into how he structured, my client Dan's here's macronutrients. And so this is where he came to us. 1,900 calories, 123 grams of protein, 1,800 calories, 2,000 calories, and 2,100 calories, right? So what we did was, first of all, we did a caloric intake maintenance assessment, right? So these were the first 4 days. He started right here. This is his day one. And so what we usually do with every single one of our clients is for the first 4 days of each one of their programs, 3 to 4 days, we monitor what their calories would be like they had never met us, right? Because we want to have a baseline of kind of where they're at, right? And so we tracked all their calories for 4 days straight before we actually implemented the plan, and this is kind of what we came up with, right? We had 1940 calories, 1860 calories, 2087 calories, 2187 calories. So we added all those up, and we divided by 4. So this gives us a average caloric intake to start. So when you put into context calories, macronutrients and micronutrients, calories affect your weight, macronutrients affect how you look, like cosmetically, as well as health markers, blood sugar levels, improving A1C, improving a lot of just health markers in general, but micronutrients affect how you feel. So we don't want to lose weight. We don't want to eat any more or less calories than we're already eating. So all we do is we restructure the macronutrients within inside of those calories, right? And how we do that is we get the base calories he's already at, right? He's already eating 2,000 calories on average, so that's where we're starting. What we do is we take his body weight, which is 206, times 1 to 1.2. So if you did 1.2 times 206, I know it's like 245, but his protein goal had been right around 200 to 215. We didn't want to change that just yet because here's one thing we know. So we're going to increase these, right? So we'd rather start on the lower end and work up rather than start in the higher end and have to work down. You can always add calories. You can never subtract them and monitor good progress. Because the progress that we monitor is on a weekly basis. We want to monitor calories when it's streamlined, right? Because your body works best when it has the same macronutrients every single day for 7 days straight. You can monitor progress better. Your digestion's better. You can see better progress. A lot of guys who comment on my channel is like, well, what if I do like fast 2 days at a week? What if I do higher fats one day, lower carbs one day? What if I lower my carbs one day on the days I don't train? None of that means anything. Like if you want to monitor better progress, just monitor everything on a weekly basis because then you can understand what key strings that you pull that have the biggest significant difference. And then 206 times 0.3, so we use 0.3 times your fat, so it's 60 grams of fat. And you backfill the rest of carbohydrates to meet what your starting calories should be. So basically, there's 4 calories per gram of protein, so 250 times 4. There's 9 calories per gram of fat, so 450. So we got 1,400 calories. So we do 200 calories minus 1,400 calories, which equals 600 calories. There's 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates. We get 150 grams of carbs. So that's the starting macronutrients. Now, keep in the context, like I said, we didn't change any calories. We just changed macronutrients. And I want you to show what happens when you simply just get the correct macronutrients in place and streamline them through the week. So this is where we started at 425, right? 206. And we're going to kind of explain what happens right here, right? But this is pretty often what happens to some of our clients. But look what happens within just the first couple weeks of us implementing the correct macronutrients that align with his overall biology. What I mean by that is Dan's 57 years old. He's not 20 years old anymore. We can just jump in the gym and, see progress and get toned. No, he's been in the gym for an extended period of time. He needs a process that is aligned with his age, with his metabolism, with the extensive dieting that he's overgone for the last 5 to 10 years, and it underlines with his overall biology. Like, this is what the stuff matters. Like, the fad diets aren't going to work for Dan because he's not a beginner in the gym. Like, he doesn't have newbie gains. He has a actual problem that needs solved with actual, metabolic science. So anyways, just 25 more grams of carbohydrates and watch how his body progresses. And you can see right here at the top right here with 25 more grams of carbohydrates, right? And notice it's like we don't every single week change his calories, but we start to get more aggressive over time because sometimes we'll wait a week with clients to let their body adjust. I remember the context of the photo I pulled up with the cell. Sometimes we might need another week, another 2 weeks for his body to transition properly and utilize that glucose correctly. Where most people go wrong is they get impatient, right? And they try to add everything too quickly, and then their body has a bad reaction. And they say carbohydrates are the devil, it made me gain weight, it made me feel fatigued, it made me tired. No, you just didn't do it right because you don't have the patience for it. You have to understand that the body's smart and you have to take it slowly, okay? So 25 grams, 25 grams, 25 grams, and just notice, right, how his physique starts to mold, right? And so we start to get upwards of almost right here, 2,700 calories, and we got up all the way to 2,900 calories, right? So right here, we raised the food to 25 right here, and we got them to 2,900 calories. I know the diagram right here doesn't say 29, but we got them up to 2,900 calories. So keep in mind, this is at 2,900 calories, and this right here is at 1,800 calories, right? And this is like the week by week progress. You can't, like, I can't make this shit up. Like, this is the week by week progress with him, with all the notes by our coaches on exactly how we did it, right? And so we got him up in calories, but like you can kind of see right here what happened with his weight. Like I said, we don't give a shit about this. We don't give a shit he's gaining weight. If his physique's improving and he's gaining weight, he's getting leaner and he's gaining weight, what's that mean from just a logical perspective? He's gaining muscle tissue. He's getting stronger. If he's looking visibly leaner and he's gaining weight, what is happening? He's gaining muscle tissue. So a lot of people, when they hit this spot right here, right down here, they hit a new little way and they'll be all excited, and we'll be excited for them. Then they'll think that they can just start a cut, right? Well, we track progress photos for a reason. It's because as he starts to gain weight a little bit, we start to notice, oh shoot, he's getting actually leaner, right? He's starting to get a little bit leaner, eating more food, right? So let's push it a little bit more. Let's give him some more food. Let's feed his body. And he got up to 2,900 calories. And he got like absolutely shredded, okay? But now we have 2,900 calories to work with when we start his cut. So like I showed you in the diagram above, we simply just started him right at 10 incline, 3 speed, 25 minutes, 4 times a week, right? And so a lot of people will ask, it's like, how do you know when to start your cut? Well, like we talked about, most guys, when they get to 2,900 calories, right around that range, you can see a side shot starting to lean out. Like, we're usually pretty good for a cut come that time, right? And so, it usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks for metabolic priming to really take full effect. But now we have good calories under our belt. We're doing no cardio, and we can add cardio and reduce calories slightly, and we can create another calorie deficit. And so right here, we actually lowered the carbohydrates to 75. We added cardio to this day, and look what happens within just the first couple weeks. Boom. Comes right back down, right? At 26, this was today, so it was at 2,600 calories. And this is what he looked like today. At 2,600 calories, 25 minutes of cardio, just eating more food. So keep in mind, he's still eating more food right here. He's in a very slight deficit, and we just lowered his food again once today. He's an active client with us right now, and he's constantly changing his week. We're going to get him on a video here soon. He wants to do a testimonial video for us here very soon, so keep a mind out for that. But yeah, like look how much his physique's changing. He's 57 years old. He is 6-pack shredded, eating more calories, right? And this is how the process works from the context of what metabolic priming is, what carbohydrate metabolism is. And like I said, we've done this 500 times, guys. This isn't some new fad diet. This isn't some new concept like the sugar diet that no one's ever researched. This is a highly researched subject that takes very critical customization to actually utilize biological markers and scientific processes that align with your metabolism that actually get you lean using actual science, right? And, the purpose of these channels is to teach you guys a lot about how your metabolism works, a lot about low-calorie diet, a lot about metabolic adaptation. And, go and try this stuff today. I implore you, go try what I learned for you today. Come back to this specific video and comment below what actually happened to you. But if you're somebody who, honestly is like me and it's like 500 of the guys that I actually work with, you want progress now, you want the quick, easy way, and you just want to get it done now, there'll be an application below for you to sign up for the program. We have 175 active guys in the community right now, and one of the best communities to work with. We actually just hosted a client retreat here in Scottsdale, Arizona at my bodybuilding show. The video will come out tomorrow, actually. And we took them all out to eat, and it was amazing. The community is amazing. But what I'm saying is that, if you want progress, you want to do it right the first time without having to mess it up. You just want the process done for you. You want it laid out on a silver platter. You just want to carry on your business with your wife, with your family, with your job, and you want us to come in and structure everything for you and just make it super simple to follow. The application will be linked below. But yeah, you can check out my channel. Eventually, I'm guessing you'll probably figure it out for yourself. But if you're somebody who wants the easy way, you want it quick, you want it now, sign out down below, join our program. We'll get you rocking with some really great dudes that we do work with. So like I said, like, comment, and subscribe. Videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Check out that new video coming tomorrow. It's going to be pretty cool. As I competed in a bodybuilding show here in Scottsdale. You guys can see a little bit more behind the scenes on who I am, who my clients are. So don't miss that video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.